Everybody really should have a bullish and a bearish case scenario. I always try to stack where I can, and it's a beautiful blessing to be in crypto for as long as I have to really understand that there is a real bigger picture here. And when I really don't care about Bitcoin price a lot, and I know that's almost ignorant to say, but it's not when you realize that the banks are failing, that the dollar's inflating, and a lot of fiat currencies, and you could say the overall picture is that they're almost designed to fail in one way or another. There's no cap supply. There's no real control over how much is printing, and that directly affects every individual that is taking part in this fiat system.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today I'm here with Randy. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm doing amazing, and I'm just ready to get after it with you.
For those of whom they don't know you, do you mind to give us an intro and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Randi Hipper, also known as Miss Teen Crypto. I'm 21 now, but have started this when I was 17. My goal has always been the same, which is to spread crypto and NFT adoption throughout the world and educate the masses, as well as Gen Z, who I believe is going to be leading this space in the next not even 5 years.
What was your journey into crypto? How have you discovered crypto?
My journey started really early in my life, 2016. I was 13 years old, and my dad was watching this guy on Facebook talking about this Bitcoin. And my dad thought it was a physical coin at first, and then realized it was not. And it was money that was going to change the world. So he started telling me about it. And as an ignorant 13-year-old, I was kind of like, okay, whatever, you were crazy. Thought it was for older people in finance, people that had money, that I had no place in it. Then by the time I was 16 in 2019, we did our first crypto transactions, and I saw how easy it was to use. All it was is a QR code. Just scan or copy paste a username or an address, and you can send money to anyone anywhere in the world, where a lot of people my age do not spend fiat paper. They're looking for digital fiat, where they're not going to go to the store and do all these pennies, nickels, and dimes. They're essentially worthless. People throw them out, they don't even use them. So I thought this was just a better way of transacting. And then I realized that the few $100s I had in my bank account, I didn't earn interest on. There was no money being made off my money that I was taught that was the way it was when I grew up. So I took that few $100s, put it in Bitcoin, have never looked back. And then by the time I was 17 in 2020, it was April of 2020, it was a lockdown. It was very sad times throughout the whole world. And I really missed going into school and saying good morning to people. And I was, tutoring. I was, doing charity events with the school. So I just decided that I wanted to take part in crypto and do something positive. So I just created the username Miss Teen Crypto to say I was a girl, I was a teen, I was in crypto. And I saw the handle was available on all platforms. I took it, then just started tweeting Good Morning Crypto Twitter, which we see has evolved into things like GM today. And a lot of people actually really liked and took part in that. So that's kind of where I started doing videos, turned into talking to strangers on the streets, started interviewing people like Michael Saylor on the Randi Hipper show, and have the Daily Zest now, where I report on daily crypto news.
Where do you see Bitcoin at the minute? Because some people are saying it's a store of value, some people are saying it's a currency. What's your take here?
I think Bitcoin is so beautiful because it doesn't classify as just one thing, where people try to relate it to tech stocks, to gold, and all these. Like, gold is infinite, and governments actually don't allow people to mine the gold they want to mine. So it's a completely manipulated market. And even the stock market, that people get to push buttons where you don't get to trade. So where's the real value in a lot of those assets? I think that's to be questioned. And with Bitcoin, there's really no questioning its value, where there's a limited supply of 21 million, that it is a store of value. And I do picture it being more of a store of value down the road, where people can't really afford to have Lightning Network. I think banks are going to really take a big part in Lightning Network because of the liquidity they need to have. I also think that Bitcoin's going to be too expensive. Ethereum, even too expensive. We saw during the last bull market that things that were like a $10 NFT on Ethereum, I was paying over $100 for because of gas fees. Bitcoin spikes the same, especially where this year was actually a really good example with the Bitcoin halving. People were just using runes and, popping off on ordinals, trying to get that magical Satoshi for the halving. And it drew the gas prices through the roof. So that's things you have to question. What's going to be feasible to use? Bitcoin, I picture being a store of value. It's also property, and it's also a currency. You look back to the fundamentals, the white paper, that it's an asset, a piece of value that you could do and move peer to peer with no financial institutions in between.
Everyone is trying to put these magical critter into a box, but at the end of the day, it's just a unicorn, right? So it doesn't belong anywhere and it belongs everywhere at the same time. Do you see a market where Bitcoin, Ethereum, and maybe Solana and other altcoins are coexisting together? Do you actually have that in your mind? Because some of the people I speak to, they're like either super focused on Bitcoin, Bitcoin maxi as we call them, but there are other people like me. I actually think there is a use case for all those coins. I mean, what's your two satoshis here? What do you think?
I honestly think there's a role for everything. There's not one currency in the world. There's never been one currency. You could look at like currency like dollars. You could also look at it like bartering, like, even in the lunchroom when you're a kid, you trade your snack for another kid's snack. Like that's a currency right there. So I think currency evolves and Bitcoin is like the king. It was number one. I believe it'll always be number one, but there's also going to be other things that come from that. So obviously Bitcoin cannot scale to where we have decentralized applications and all these things as much as people want it to be that way. And you could experiment with the technology. That's what it's all about. It's not going to be the end all be all currency. There's going to be Bitcoin plus others. Ethereum takes on that decentralized application side. DeFi really came from Ethereum. So that's another whole use case for another piece of technology. And then you see that it struggles to scale. So now we have to kind of look at other things. That's where Solana comes in. Solana has a lot of downtime, but executes a lot of good things that people want to see. Great projects on Solana. So now we have to kind of go to something, maybe have something else that could have the uptime, that could scale, that is feasible to use to have smart contracts, decentralized applications, handle the world of DeFi, which we haven't really seen yet. We're kind of like beta testing this technology. We haven't really seen the billions of active users a day using this technology. And I think that's going to be the real test. I strongly believe that down the line, there's going to be different blockchains that handle different things and maybe have a totally different consensus mechanism than proof of work or proof of stake and other things people are trying to do now.
Even if they would compete, which I don't think they are, by the way, I agree with you. I think Bitcoin is doing Bitcoin, Ethereum is doing Ethereum, and Solana is doing Solana. But even if they would compete for the same spot, there's never a market where something or someone has the 100% of the shares. There's always like a split somewhat. Think about sportwears. You have Nike, Reebok, all the brands, Adidas, whatever. They all have shares and they all focus on certain things. Maybe athletics, maybe running, maybe swimming. So there is always like the market, like you painted it. And I agree with you 100%. I remember the days of the high gas fees for sure.
Gas wars.
Exactly. And you've seen indeed a few cycles. So what are you expecting for 2024? Because some people are saying, oh, the market is gonna finish this year. Other people are saying, no, it's too early, 2025. What's your take here?
A lot of people go and refer to the 4-year cycle, but in my opinion, there's not a lot of data to say there's a finite 4-year cycle. It's not like it's been 4, 5, 6 4-year cycles already. And we see by now it's already broken because Bitcoin hit all-time high pre-halving. And now people are trying to compare it to the last one where, we need X amount of days plus to hit all-time high. I think that's almost irrelevant at that point, being that we are still ranging between 60K. I would say 56K and 70. This is an unknown range for Bitcoin. She's like a teenager, has to discover herself. 15 years old, that's what you do. So I strongly believe that there is no finite answer. There's no crystal ball that anyone may have. You can look at the charts and kind of look at the technicals and see where that may bring you. But even Bitcoin's proven to us many times that the technical analysis a lot of the time almost becomes irrelevant. There's major moves and things that people just simply cannot predict. And people try to take the trad markets and stocks and try to apply that to Bitcoin. Like, this is what this tech stock did in the past. Bitcoin's not that. It's a major asset class that is rapidly taking over the world's wealth. So I think this is a very critical time. We're experiencing something that is going to be talked about for generations. People talking about $60,000 Bitcoin is going to be almost laughable one day. I look at the bigger picture, and to kind of focus on the near is not really going to benefit you, especially mentally going through the ups and downs. Most people cannot handle it.
I completely agree. I had Gary Cardone and Matt Hogan, CIO for Bitwise, and they both painted a very interesting perspective, which is how do you consider into this charting the ETF? Like, it's not something you can draw into some lines. I mean, as much as I understand TA and it's an art and you can see whatever you want into the charts, I would also argue that if you ask 2 or 3 different individuals, they will find different patterns. So some kind of find what you want to find in the data, if you see what I mean. So kind of agree with you. It's a bit of a tricky one. Plus, 2009 to 2024 is not a long time. So data samples are really small. So I agree with you. There's going to be a time in which we will go back and think, damn, do you remember $60,000 for one single Bitcoin? It was cheap, because it's always the same. I've been myself here a few cycles, and every single time I say to myself, I wish I would have bought more, even in times of fear. And if
Exactly, right?
it seems to be a common answer I give myself. And I mean, are you planning like a DCA out? How are you managing your crypto portfolio?
Yeah, I've always taken part in DCA. I mean, it's hard when, Bitcoin keeps dipping and everyone's trying to buy those dips. And then it's like, where's the dry powder left to keep buying those dips? I think it's really different for everybody as well. I think everybody really should have a bullish and a bearish case scenario. I always try to stack where I can. And it's a beautiful blessing to be in crypto for as long as I have, to really understand that there is a real bigger picture here. And when I really don't care about Bitcoin price a lot, and I know that's almost ignorant to say, but it's not when you realize that the banks are failing, that the dollar's inflating, and a lot of fiat currencies. And you could say the overall picture is that they're almost designed to fail in one way or another. There's no cap supply, there's no real control over how much is printing, and that directly affects every individual that is taking part in this fiat system. Where Bitcoin, you're opting into a system where there's a finite supply and you actually own your money. It's something immutable and can't be taken from you. So that's what's important to me. So when I DCA into Bitcoin, I feel as though I'm DCAing into freedom.
I think there is like a rabbit hole where probably in the beginning, if you are new into crypto, new into Bitcoin, because for me, Bitcoin is not crypto, but that's a separate probably conversation. You want to go into the rabbit hole because you want to make money, right? I mean, that was at least my story. I was like, wow, there's an opportunity for me to make a lot of money. And then the more that you dig into it, the more you don't want to sell it, because you understand, exactly like you said, that you are buying something quite unique. And even though there are cycles, we can try to be clever. But I think if you're trying to play the market, you're going to get slapped left and right, because at the end of the day, when you realize one Bitcoin equal one Bitcoin, then the rabbit hole goes deeper, right? So you don't want to sell any of those things. But is there anything you use at all to multiply your Bitcoin? For example, I like to use altcoins. I do some gambling, some degenerate gambling, but it's contained, right? Very well contained. Yeah. And my objective is to say, okay, I'm speculating, for example, on Solana, on Ethereum, on maybe some meme coins, and I buy them. And when they go up, if they go up, then I'll sell them into Bitcoin. Do you have also something similar in your strategy?
Well, I'm more of a conservative gal where I like to DCA and kind of dip my toe in and hold. I'm more of a buy and hodl type girl, because that's strongly what I believe in. I feel like, once you start playing around with the charts, that's when you almost jinx yourself, in my opinion. So, and I know there are people that are very talented with the charts and people that trade every day, and bless their hearts. I just know that I do not have the mental capacity to do it. And I have a lot going on day to day. I cannot worry about, oh, did this go to the price I'm looking for? I got to sell it and pour it back into Bitcoin. I simply don't have the time for that. Although I do see areas where sometimes I see that maybe I don't think something will go up as much, and maybe I'll take a chunk and put it into Bitcoin. That does happen sometimes, but very, very rare for me. I like to hodl, have my long-term plan for my bags, and that's pretty much it. I'm more conservative with that type of stuff.
By the way, this is the most difficult thing to do, because it's the most simple on paper, but it's so hard because you have to be consistent. Taxing. Exactly. And you have to be consistent, right? Just dollar cost average every week, every month, money you can afford to lose, and just don't look at the price. And in 5 years, in 8 years, you'll be fine. But the thing is, it's such a simple instruction, and yet no one is doing it, because everyone wants things to happen now. They want to go in, buy, and double their money, and they want to buy those because they think, oh, crypto, Lamborghinis, and Rolex. From the outside, perception is quite interesting, right?
It's just the attention span that people have nowadays. And I think that a lot of things, and especially in the last 4 or 5 years, just happen very rapidly with the way the world is. So I think especially with something like Bitcoin, people really want that instant gratification. Like, oh, you're saying it's the best money out there and this and that, so why isn't it doing what I want? And it proves over time that whenever people feel that way and they sell, then they end up regretting it later, because they're like, oh, then I really messed up. There were people that were driving me crazy last cycle. I was really going around school and family talking about $7,000 Bitcoin. And people were saying, oh, it's never going to 20 again. Went to 20. They're like, oh, well, it dips, so I'm going to sell at 11,000, let's say. And then it goes back up to 20, passes 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, all-time high of 69K. Then they feel like, oh, then maybe oh yeah, like I actually bought back in though. Like that happens all the time because people just want that instant and they want to feel like they're validated in their opinion, which sometimes I feel. And if you want to sell for profit, that's up to you. I always tell people it's whatever you want to do. You have a bullish and bearish case scenario. If there's a price target you have and you want to take profit and use it to live your life, then that's totally up to you. This is currency after all. You're using this technology to live your life in the most free way possible. So if you're taking profits, then go do that. So I'm really not against what anybody does, but sometimes people do want to play the game and then they get burnt.
I completely agree. I mean, if you think about it, the Bitcoin white paper is 9 pages. It's like a PDF that anybody can read anytime. It's so fast. And yet people don't want to know what they're buying. They're just buying it because they've seen it. Their friends say, hey, buy this, you're going to become a millionaire. So they jump into it, they buy the top, and they'll sell the bottom. This is how everyone gets in. Whether if you have conviction, if you study the asset, when it dumps, you want to accumulate because you want to buy the fear and sell the greed, if anything. But what I've seen through the time and through the cycles, always the same story. People are coming in with a short span, and Bitcoin is going to punish you. If you have a small time frame, you're going to get slapped. Right?
Absolutely. You get punished. That's funny. I like that.
And you mentioned NFTs. I mean, how do you feel about it? Because I was actually very intrigued by NFTs because being an artist and being a designer, it was the easy thing to combine. Like you have science and art combined together, like ownership, digital ownership. I was super pumped by it. And then we've seen this kind of market which has gone left, down, right, up, sideways. How do you feel about NFTs? What's your view here?
I freaking love NFTs. Especially when I was in high school, there was an elective you could take, which was digital art. And it boggled my mind so much that these kids were learning digital art, but they didn't know how to monetize that digital art or put it out there for the world to see. And I actually tried to onboard my art teacher at the time that was hosting these classes and was offering to start the collection, give them the keys, like just set it up for them. And they just didn't understand it. And now years later, I actually saw her before I moved to New York, from New York to where I'm in now. I saw her one night and she was like, you're still doing the crypto stuff, right? And I said, yeah, I am. And she said, we should have like done more with that. And I said, yeah, but I'm still here if you want to. And so a lot of people do feel like that regret, like they missed out, but it's still a very bright, vibrant technology. I was one of the first creators to start minting NFTs back in November, December of 2020. It was me, Crypto Stash, and a few others that were on Wax blockchain, that stands for World Asset Exchange. So that was really fast. It was feasible and something that was really easy to sign up for. So I thought anybody that I onboarded could just get NFTs super quick and cheap. There was basically no gas fees. I started minting NFTs. I absolutely love it. So if you go to missteencrypto.com/NFTs, you can see ones that are still available on the market, the secondary market, and look through the art. I started it when I was around 17, 18. So then you could see as I got older, the art got more mature as I aged, because I wanted it to kind of be like, my journey in crypto aligned with the art. So I've wanted to do that as an example for other people my age and everybody in general to see that you don't have to go to a physical art gallery for them to approve your work and take a cut of it in order for you to have somewhere to, like, a stage to be on. Versus NFTs, where you're starting a collection. You're the one making the royalties depending on the blockchain and the platform you're using. And then you get to put it on a global stage where no one's giving you that permission, and you validate yourself as you should as an artist. You should be empowered. You could be your own record label. There's just so many things you could do with NFTs to really empower yourself and create your own business. That's why I started to do it. I was doing airdrops. I was giving away most of my NFTs have been given away by me for free because I want to spread that technology around. You drop it to each little person, and that's what starts the fire. You plant the seeds and it grows and it blossoms into something beautiful like crypto adoption. That's why I was doing NFTs. And then now you have ordinals. So now there's a debate of, do you want metadata on top of a blockchain to validate you have this asset, or do you want it actually inscribed in the blockchain? Now we have this debate, and that's what's so beautiful, because we get to experiment, use this technology, and watch how it evolves. NFTs right now are like the little artifacts you find in caves.
I'm super bullish about the technology, but I think what we experienced so far is in my opinion, there is a difference in between a technology and someone using a technology. Sometimes when I explain it to my friends, I'm like, well, if you go to a museum and you take a photo of the Mona Lisa, you don't actually own the Mona Lisa. You have a photo of the Mona Lisa. So it's same with NFTs.
Exactly.
If you actually own the painting yourself, It's very different than taking a photo of someone else's. At the same time, you can decide, like you said, to be your own label. It could be music, it could be video games. Imagine when people are going to connect, that you can actually own your own in-game progress. You can sell it, you can farm it, you can play. I don't want to say play to earn because this thing has been used so many times, but you can play and make money while having fun, and you can sell your progress. I mean, I'm not a gamer myself, but I understand if you play a video game for hours, whenever you don't want to use it anymore, well, first of all, you have control. You can have the same car in multiple video games. This is huge on its own because I can keep my own asset.
Exactly.
I can sell it, Maybe when I'm tired or when I'm older, I'm like, you know what? I want to gift it to someone. I want to sell it. There's going to be so many doors unlocked. And I feel like soon we'll have our ID on the blockchain by NFTs.
Oh, yeah.
You will have your membership for your Netflix, for your Starbucks into some sort of a NFT card. You will have your movies you buy. Think about Apple. When I go and buy a movie on the Apple store, it's not mine. But Apple owns the movie. Actually, they give me an ID, which is an email address. And if for some reason Apple goes under or they don't like me, they can shut me down completely.
Absolutely.
What if the movies were NFTs and I own them and I can rent them? I can buy the movie and rent it to you. It's going to open up so many companies, so many startups. It's just too early, I think, right?
Exactly. I was telling people like your Costco membership, all that stuff is going to be an NFT. People just, they don't believe that big companies would touch that until they saw Porsche, until they saw Mercedes, until they saw Nike and Adidas and all these different people like M&M and Snoop Dogg like actually like validate the space, which I think people want to see validation before they can believe. So which I'm not really like a fan of. I've never been that way.
The other day I wanted to exchange Solana from Ethereum. Oh boy, like I mean, I knew how to do it, but I wanted to challenge. Imagine if someone has come into the crypto space and they want to go into some meme coins, which mostly are on Solana for now, and they have some stable coin on Ethereum. It's a journey. Like if you don't want to use an exchange, which you have to do KYC and it takes forever. Sometimes you deposit your asset, you have to wait 24 hours. Tether? I mean, how many chains support 5 chains on Tether? I mean, how can you explain to someone, well, this is a stable coin, which is technically digital, but it's pegged to the dollar. But wait, it could be on multiple chains. And if I send it to you on Ethereum, you can't send it to me on Solana. I mean, interoperability. I think whoever's going to solve that problem is going to fix everything.
I think bridges are a huge issue in the space. There should be better bridges. I feel like all of them have issues, but it's almost the same. You could say the same for like Zelle to PayPal and PayPal to Venmo. There's no interoperability there. They're pretty much cornering you in, which I think in crypto, it's a little bit more open where you do have bridges across some chains. And there's a lot of swap websites, and even in wallets, there's certain swaps where you could do stuff like that, Ethereum to Solana. So I think we're getting a little bit better with that. I think the accessibility and the user interface is very poor. That's what I believe. I think the big portion of the issue with crypto technology and apps and dApps and exchanges and like exchanges, like mainstream exchanges haven't done really well, but I'm talking about Uniswap type stuff where people get really confused. Dex tools, I think, could really overwhelm somebody. So you need to be able to have something pretty and simple that people just see, buy, sell, swap, this to that. And like you said, sometimes it's not feasible either, where if I'm swapping, let's say I have a swap app that can do ETH to Solana, but then I have to exchange my USDC and swap that for ETH so I could swap it into Solana. And sometimes the swap from USDC to ETH could be crazy depending on the network and how busy it is. So I think, again, that's where also scaling comes into play. So I think we're really early. We need more time, but I would recommend just looking towards wallets and their swaps and just different things like the Change Angels of the world. But there are a few platforms that can do it, but like I said, it's very slim and the accessibility is low.
It's just early, so that's why there is an opportunity, because when you go in early, there is an advantage for you over anybody else, because you have to go and see where the market is going to go. So essentially, it's like a sandwich. It's a bad thing to use, but also it's an opportunity. I think we will see in the next 10, 15, 20 years, a lot of companies solving a lot of problems, and people are going to look back and think, oh my God, imagine when there was no Wi-Fi. Like I remember when there was a map and I was in Ireland, in a different place with a map asking for direction to humans. It was actually a reality. And nowadays people are like, okay, well, I just pull my phone, I tap on the map, and Google or whatever tells me where to go. And it's really convenient. I mean, don't take me wrong, but it takes time to develop. And sometimes it's like a kind of a co-creational moment where you do something and someone else is going to build on top of you, and you build on top of each other, and then it's exponential. And in like 5 or 10 years, we've done so much more progress. And if I look back in my 11 years in crypto, I can tell you things have gone so fast and yet so slow, because buying NFT in 2018 was a very different story. It was Reddit. It was like, I'll send you some Ethereum and maybe you'll send me something, hopefully.
Yeah, really. It was really like local Bitcoins, but like digital for NFTs.
Is there anything you would like to say to someone who's new in crypto specifically? Any tips or anything?
Anyone that's new to crypto, take your time, do your research. It's not a race. Bitcoin has been here for 14, 15 years already, if you want to count the white paper and things like that. We're here for a long time. The blockchain is going to keep working one block after another. This is what we're here for, is a revolution, and revolutions take time. So do your own research, keep calm, hodl on, and always make sure that you understand what you're investing in, not just for crypto, but in general. Read the white paper or just watch videos. Like I have 1 to 2 minute intro to crypto videos on my channel. I've done education at schools with slideshows that are on my YouTube channel as well, breaking it down. You have to source education and feel as though you know this technology well, to the degree that you understand the fundamentals, and then go experiment. Get Bitcoin on an exchange. Learn how to transfer Bitcoin from an exchange to your wallet, and your wallet to another friend's wallet. Just keep moving money around. And I think that's really what's going to make it click. Use the technology, embrace the technology, and play. People think it's all, oh my gosh, it's so scary. Nah. Have fun, play around. That's how I started, was doing a transaction. And because I did that transaction, I had that light bulb moment. So just research, relax, and do.
Sometimes you have to put your hands into the mud, right? And understand what the heck are you
Yes.
doing? Because if you're just buying for the sake of multiplying your money, which by the way, if you follow the DCA strategy, it will work. I mean, no financial advice, but if you do buy Bitcoin, like on a weekly or a monthly base, in 10 years, you'll be okay. But I think there is much more into the rabbit hole, right? Like you were saying, and you owe it to yourself to understand these things. And Bitcoin, like anything else, has a seasonality, right? So there are moments where the market maybe goes sideways, goes down a little bit. So that means you can use time, like you said, invest time to study this thing, to learn about it, because you will be tested. There's going to be a moment where the market is going to see who's actually in for the long term and who's in for a quick flip. And as far as I've seen a lot of slaps left and right for whoever is trying to play the short market. So I agree with you. And go and follow Randi, because she's awesome. And you have a lot of videos on your channel that I love. I really appreciate having you on the channel. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your community and everything that you have done to support me. And I hope to be back soon. You're the best.
Amazing. Thank you. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.